Let's have a heads up of understanding timing and spacing with a simple example. So let's go to a comfortable layout, okay, as we told before, and then select both the bikes and get on to animation tab, animate set key, option box, prompt, and put in 1 and 60, 1 space 60. So basically we are entering a list of times and say okay to this. And if we move on to the 60th frame, so I have this 1 to 60 here, and as you know, we'll start understanding the graph editor also. Right now we have only adjusted, we have given only the frame numbers like 1 to 60. So the frame tick is moving, but the object is lying idle. That is what we see here in the graph editor, and that is what the graph editor shows by a flat line, a straight line there, right, a horizontal straight line there. Graph editor is basically a relation between time and value. Time over here, you have all this frame numbers time here, which is calculated in the form of FPS, and you have the value, right? So if you look here, as we scrub, we can see the time going through, the time moving, but object is not moving in space, right? That is the reason when we scrub this, it is lying idle. So graph editor, please understand this clearly. When you start adjusting, it's got a huge possibility. Lot of good tweaks can be done, lot of improvements can be done if you understand the graph editor, right? Choose the translate Z axis, select the last key, and translate Z for both the bikes, and let's move this ahead. I want to move this ahead. Basically it's a negative value, that's okay. So let's move this somewhere here. Since it's a auto tangent, it's by default got a nice ease in, ease out there. And when we play this, we know the timing for both the bikes is the same, that is 60 frames. Now if I want to show different speeds within the timing itself, right? Imagine a situation where we want the bike to start much faster and then slow down and stop with a better ease in. Then how do we approach that? So that is where spacing comes into place. Now the overall 0 to 60 is the timing. Now we are going to do spacing variation by understanding the tangents or by understanding the curves, mainly with the help of tangents. The tangent make the spacing happen. So let's get on to translate Z of the second bike, okay. Select this one and let's go to curves, weighted tangent and keys. We can go into tangents and free tangent weight, and then let's choose the first key and start moving this. If I start moving it this way horizontal, it means the bike will start still slower, but we want it to start fast. So let's do this, and over here let's make it flat. Let's just pull it and make it a little bit more flat. A huge difference in the way things are getting animated. It starts like a rocket and nicely loses pace and slows down, right? So we have to remember this and understand the graph better with this simple example. Imagine a person skating down a cliff. The speed of the person increases where the graph is more steep. Imagine a person skating down here. The speed increases here at this area because it is very steep, and then it comes to rest at this area, right, because it is flat. So irrespective of the graph being this side or this side, it's only positive, negative. The shape of the graph plays a major role in adjusting in deciding the spacing of the animation, and spacing is the one that makes the animation look believable, makes the animation more interesting. Now let's play this again and watch this. So both of the bikes move for 60 frames only. Start and end is the same, but the variations can be clearly seen here. Now what is exactly happening here? This is as good as your drawings. Like if you are trying to draw between 0 and 60, let's say if you go to animate and we have something called as ghost selected, we have this type of ghosting, global preferences. Now it means that you have this global preferences settings for ghosting here. If you go into this animation, then you can find the ghost setting already available here. So when we say global preferences, it means it is picking up from this place. and we are okay with this global preferences right now and say ghost, right? And immediately you can start seeing the positions. Let's do the same thing for this one. I'm just pressing G in the keyboard, so I get to see. You can see how the spacing plays a major role. This is how the spacing is calculated. This is like, the first frame drawing is here, second frame drawing is here, third frame drawing. So imagine like a series of drawings here. The same with this also. They are more spread across, right? So you see the bike moving faster, and similarly over here they are more closely packed. If you go to the wireframe on shaded, you can see this is more closely packed than what this is, and you get better smoothness here. So I guess this is a good heads up for understanding spacing. See, it's like, you remember the values of ghosting to be 3 and 3. If you remember, when we saw this, it was like 3 frames before and 3 frames after the current frame. Let's say if I stop at 10, or maybe we go to the 6th frame, right? Now you can see this. The green one is the actual position at the 6th frame. 3 frames before and 3 frames after. That's the meaning that we gave it in Ghost, and it will help you see the previous keyframes so that we can easily understand what's happening around. And also, if you want to get rid of this, once you're through with this, you can go to animate and say ungo selected, right? Then when you look at the graph editor, also try and understand the other aspects of graph editor, like when there is a graph, okay, you have this keyframes, and each keyframe has got an in tangent. This is the in tangent, this is out tangent. Similarly, this is the keyframe, and this one is the in tangent, and this is the out tangent. You can definitely go and customize the tangent the way you want by just dragging this, moving this, right? I was doing weighted tangents here basically because with weighted tangents you can scale it. Otherwise, even the default tangents are really good, and we're going to talk about all of them in a moment, right? Then you can see this values here. The moment I go and choose a keyframe, you have the frame number and the value. You can also go and type in a value here. Let's say if I go and put in 3 there, then you see this bike starting from a different position. This one starts from a different position here. So it's basically you can hold shift in the keyboard and start moving this, right? Or start moving this down. So the start position is changed for the first keyframe. This is basically changing the value, and this one is changing the time. If I do this horizontally, it means I am starting the animation from the 12th frame only. See, if I scrub this, nothing will happen for the second bike till the 12th frame. From 12 it will get started. So just remember this, it's quite simple. This one is change in value, this one is change in time, and this one is change in value and time both if you start moving it in both the directions, right? And you can also enter values here. That also you can just make a note. You can definitely enter values, but basically we used prompt for this example, and we were trying to just move the graph, though we could have manually done it, because you can also get a hang of graph editor. Trying to animate through the graph editor in the beginning and getting a hang of it before you go ahead and manually set your keys. That's a good practice, learning the hard way. So let's take up a sphere and start animating it. So let's put in keys. Let's start here. Maybe I'll go and reset this. Okay, and put in manual keys here. Set a key there and go on to 12. Start moving this here. Okay, put in a key and go to 6 and set up a key there. So with auto key on also you can just do that. Key is on, then you get the keys, right? You have this moving in. Now let's go and see what is this infinity. So first let's get rid of all the unwanted channels. Let's go to edit, delete by type, and static channels. So any channel the channel that is animated only remains here. Now infinity, as you all know, it is like never ending, right? It's infinite. So let's first put on the infinite option here, because right now we don't get to see the infinite curve. So let's go to view and put on infinity here. The moment I put this on, then you get to see this dotted line here, right? And then let's go and use curves. Pre-infinity is before 0 and post-infinity is after 0. So let's go to post-infinity and say cycle, the first one. Now even if I get on to, let's say, 300 frames, I've animated only 24, and if I play this, you can see this animation is getting looped, it's cycling. It goes back to the first frame, it jumps back. If you have to really see, I'll just go frame by frame. So from we animated till 12, right? And then if I just go one frame ahead, 13, you can see this getting back. If you go back and forth, you can clearly see it jumps back to the starting position and starts moving ahead, jumps back to the starting position, starts moving ahead, right? This is cycle. Of course, all of this carries unique importance which can be utilized for various problem solving things. If we choose this, the other one, let's go and make post infinity cycle with offset. As the name goes, the moment you say cycle with offset and start playing this, you can see the ball bouncing off, right? And if you just go and try this after 12, it goes ahead, it starts moving ahead. So it offsets the value, whatever was the value. If it was 5, then it's moving to 10, 15, 20, like that, right? And then let's move on to curves, post infinity, and oscillate. Now when we give oscillate, immediately you can see the graph. This is actually a good practice. The moment you see the graph, you should be able to say what's happening. Easiest way to judge it is the channel that's going to give you an information of the curve. Okay, translate Z. You can see this one, it actually comes back here. So if you just play this, then it keeps coming back and forth, right? So this is oscillate. So let's go to curves, post infinity, and say linear. Linear is a real good option, but in the beginning, the moment you put in linear, you don't get to see much of a difference there. So when I play this, there's nothing much happening, it just remains static there, right? But remember, the last tangential information plays a major role in the linear, in setting up the linear infinite. So let's go to the last keyframe, and either you edit this, you can see immediately the linear changes, or let's say we put in a spline tangent, which I'll explain you in a minute. So if I choose a spline tangent here, immediately you can see this getting affected, working towards the shape of the tangent is extended towards the infinite. And when you play this, it actually just drops down there. It's based on the animation that you do. On the tangential information, it starts working. When you want to get this back, then simply go to curves, post infinity, and constant. When you do that, then you get back to normal. Hope this is clear. See, sometimes there's a question like we see this dotted lines. Of course, it extends the animation. Let's say if we again go back into curves, post infinity, and cycle with offset, so you can see this happening here. But what is the actual usage? How do we use this dotted line? Since it's dotted lines, it keeps going even if it is 3000 frames. See, number one, anything that you want to cycle, there's a real good option, right? But if you want to make this dotted lines come back to normal, you cannot edit anything out here. If you want to stop it in three bounces, then I want to do something else, then how do I approach it? So there are a lot of different ways to do that, but one of the way is to go into edit keys, and you have something called as bake simulation. So you can go into bake simulation, and it's all very simple English, you can understand this. In bake simulation, you can choose start and end. So you want to start from, let's say, 0, and you wanted to move on to, so this is like 12, then let's move on to, let's say, 36 or 48. Okay, so want to bake it till 48, and sample by 1, like every frame you get a key. Sample by 2, every two frames you get a key, and you just say bake there. Then you can see now it's available for us. Previously it was all dotted, now this is available for us for editing, right? And as usual, we can go to edit, delete by type, and static channels. So only this remains. You can still clean up this graph. Of course, these keys doesn't carry any importance here, but this is one of the quick ways to just convert your infinity available for you. So if I just go there, go into curves, post infinity, and constant, then you can just you made this available for you. This might be an object example, but imagine a situation where you have a walk cycle and you wanted to loop it 4 times. You want the the character to walk forward 4 steps. It becomes quite handy and quick here. Of course, we can use this in many other different ways. This is one of the way out there. Also, we'll talk about the tangents now. So let's go and identify the tangents. See, the number one place for tangents is window settings and preferences here. So in this particular area, you can go into animation and you see the default in tangent and out tangent here. So default in tangent is auto and out tangent is also auto. This is one of the best options, and we prefer to leave it default most of the times, because it calculates the natural ease in ease out for any animation that you do. But apart from that, you also have other tangents that is available here too again. The first one is auto tangent, the second one is a spline tangent, the third one is a clamp tangent, the fourth one is a linear, the fifth one is flat, the sixth one is stepped, and the seventh one is plateau tangents. Let's talk about this. Now auto tangent is a default tangent, any animation that you do. Let's say for example, we create a cube there, and imagine this to be a car, and we'll just animate this to move and then stop for some time, then move ahead. So let's set in a key there, okay, and then let's keep it 120 frames. So let's go to 30, move this there, set a key. So 30 to 50, let's put a hold, just set a key there without doing any change to the object. Again 50 to 80, let's move this ahead, set up a key, right? Now if I play this, you can see the car moves forward, stops, and then moves forward again. If you keep watching it a little closer, it's got a natural ease in, it's got a natural nice, it doesn't stop abruptly there. This happens because of the auto tangent. Now with the last example, we can understand the tangents better, we can understand the graph better. So you can see it starts slow and then picks up speed and then comes to a rest, nice slowdown happens and then it stops. This is a place where the car is static, it doesn't move and then starts moving ahead. Now let's choose the whole thing, okay, move on to the spline tangent. Now see what happens when we move on to the spline tangent and play this. You can immediately see, okay, let's cut this down to only 80 frames, okay, and play this. We immediately notice the hold is lost. We no more get to see the hold. Does that mean spline tangent is not good or it screws up the animation? No, it's not. Of course, in this situation, spline tangent is not capable of showing holds. Any animation that you want to show a hold, then don't use a spline tangent, right? But again, let's see the advantages of spline tangent and what it does. See, it creates a beautiful overshoot and settle for any animation that you do. Human being has got a natural tendency, characters natural tendency of overshoot and settle. Whenever you're trying to talk, your hand doesn't stop the place where you want to, it goes just little ahead and then comes back. Similarly, if you notice here, as I keep scrubbing, right, just if you pay attention, you can easily understand. This is the graph. You can see the tangent has taken the shape of the graph here, and the moment it goes, it overshoots, it goes ahead, okay, and then it goes back and then comes to rest. So something that is really good for character stops. Whenever you want to stop a character, this one spline tangent can immediately create a natural, a believable effect, right? And move on to the clamp tangent. You click on the clamp tangent. Of course, it maintains. Previously, this was a default tangent of Maya. With the auto tangent coming in, then this has taken a back step because auto tangent is much powerful. You can see the result immediately. Now the graph, when it starts, the tangent is like, it just starts abruptly there. It goes without that nice slowdown and then picking up speed. It just starts off straight away. Whereas if you go into the auto tangent, you get even that there, right? So clamp tangent is basically, is improved and upgraded to auto tangent. That way you can remember. The next one is the linear tangent. Now you go and click on the linear tangent. There is absolutely no ease in, ease out at all. It is like more robotic animation. It just abruptly starts and then stops. So when you start playing this, it abruptly starts, stops again. There's no ease in, ease out at all with a linear thing. So it shows impact. It's good for robotic animation, mechanical animations, it's good enough. And then flat tangent. See, basically what flat tangent does, it flats out all the tangent. It's very simple. Any tangent of any shape, right? You big time this is changed, and then the moment you have this go to the flat tangent, it sets it right. It sets all the tangents to flat, like a horizontal straight line, right? And then you have step tangent, one of the very powerful tangents of Maya. But again, step tangent, with this example we might not be able to understand this better. The moment you move on to step tangent and play this, now you don't get to see the transition between two keyframes. Like, previously it was moving from point A to point B. Now it just jumps from A. Again, if you go to 30, it jumps to point B. So this is very good for seeing a pose to pose animation, which we'll be discussing in the future classes with characters. But as of now, you can have the understanding that it jumps from one pose to another. It jumps from one keyframe to another.